MSNBC.
You just said.
This is Lawrence O'Donnell, who had on Fauci. This was Wednesday night, shortly before the CDC revised its guidelines on mask wearing for vaccinated people.
Clarity in that is that when you're outside, if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask at all outside. Does that have anything to do with my proximity to another person outside who might not be vaccinated?
No.
So a vaccinated person outside, even in close proximity to unvaccinated people, does not need a mask.
Right. The only time you need a mask if you're vaccinated is if you're going to a very, very concentrated area where people are literally walking all over each other.
Okay, so we have an article from NBC News about how the science came to the conclusion. A MAGA stream? No, my friend, right-wingers are morons. MAGA stream. Are you a sea lion? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday said masks and social distancing are no longer necessary for people who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. It's a move the agency said was driven by scientific evidence that the vaccines play a major role in curbing both infections and transmission of the virus. I absolutely have voted for Biden. When given the choice between Trump and Biden, that's a clear choice. In announcing the agency's updated guidelines, CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky said there are numerous reports in the literature to demonstrate the safety and real-world effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines. Walensky highlighted in particular 3 recent studies that demonstrated the impact of the vaccines on symptomatic and asymptomatic infections, and one study published just last week on the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines against 2 variants that are known to be circulating in the U.S. Now, I will say we're going to talk about Trump here in just a second. Trump did some whining today, and I find it amusing. The findings all add to a growing body of evidence that the vaccines are effective at preventing severe illness and death from COVID-19, and that they help prevent people from spreading the virus to others. In the U.S., the number of newly reported COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are all decreasing. The most recent 7-day average for new cases fell about 23% over the previous week, Walensky said. The 7-day average for daily deaths also declined to 587 per day. These statistics help reinforce that the vaccines are working and are working well. This is according to Dr. Monica Gandhi, an infectious disease physician and professor of medicine at the University of California. The change in recommendations was overdue, according to Dr. David Dowdy, an associate professor of infectious disease epidemiology at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. He said, I think part of the problem before this was that there was something of a mixed message. The vaccines are very effective, but you still have to wear a mask, Dowdy said. This is now a strong statement that we know these vaccines work. And for those who are fully vaccinated, it's appropriate to take some steps toward living life a bit more normally. In one of the studies cited by the CDC, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was shown to be 97% effective at protecting against symptomatic infection and 86% effective at protecting against asymptomatic infection. Those results, published May 6 in the Journal of the American Medical Association, were based on a study of more than 6,700 vaccinated healthcare workers in Israel. So now this is coming as we were also finding out breakthrough cases might be less rare than they thought. Or at least it seems. This could just be an instance of famous cases. Not only do we have 8 members of the New York Yankees testing positive for COVID-19, who were all fully vaccinated, we have Bill Maher has had to postpone his show tonight because his fully vaccinated ass also contracted COVID-19. The New York Yankees on Thursday said an 8th fully vaccinated member of the team has tested positive for COVID-19. MLB and the New York State Department of Health are assisting the team with the outbreak, the team said in a statement. Shortstop Gleyber Torres, who is fully vaccinated, tested positive for the virus and was placed on the COVID-19 injured list. They said he previously contracted the virus during the offseason. 3 coaches have also tested positive, along with 4 members of the team's traveling staff. All of the positives are breakthrough positives occurring with individuals who were fully vaccinated. The Yankees were previously operating under relaxed MLB protocols after successfully reaching an 85% vaccination rate among players. Contracted before, then vaccinated, then contracted again. Oof. So my worry about all of this is that they're telling people to take the masks off indoors and shit. And it really seems like people that are vaccinated can still spread it around. My worry with that is if vaccinated people are spreading a virus around, viruses mutate. And could mutate to be resistant to the vaccine. But I'm also not an expert, and the experts at this time seem to be saying everything is safe for vaccinated people. Now, as I mentioned before, the lab leak theory cannot be ruled out, according to leading scientists who issued a letter earlier today. The origin of the novel coronavirus is still unclear, and the theory that it was caused by a laboratory leak needs to be taken seriously until there is rigorous data-led investigation that proves it wrong. Now, the thing that has really got me thinking about this over the last couple of days, I think it was on Monday, I said flippantly to somebody on the stream, like, no, we know it came from a wet market. The thing that I kept thinking about was the fact that they had been able to trace the DNA back to the very specific animal that it came from with the MERS and the SARS outbreaks. Now, I will counter that seems to, you know, oh, that indicates that might be a lab leak. But the Trump administration just gutted the pandemic response team. So I don't know if their inability to trace the DNA has to do with a hobbled National Institutes of Health, CDC, here in this country under a Trump administration. Once again, it seems fishy that there is a lab in Wuhan, but also it is a populous city. COVID-19 emerged in China in late 2019 and has killed 3.34 million people worldwide, which is an undercount. Cost the world trillions of dollars in lost income and upended normal life for billions of people. More investigation is still needed to determine the origin of the pandemic, said the 18 scientists, including Ravadri Gupta, a clinical microbiologist at the University of Cambridge, and Jesse Bloom, who studies the evolution of viruses at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. The authors of the letter said the World Health Organization's investigation into the origins of the virus had not made a balanced consideration of the theory that it may have come from a laboratory incident. In its final report, and we also, it's not like this hasn't happened before. As I understand it, that's where Lyme disease comes from. That we were experimenting with ticks on an island to try to weaponize them. That the previous administration closed the CDC ambassadorships. Exactly. That is one of the things that sticks in my mind. Once again, correlation, causation. So we must take this hypothesis about both natural and laboratory spillovers seriously until we have sufficient data, the scientist said, adding that an intellectually rigorous and dispassionate investigation needed to take place. Totally on board. I'm down with it. I am sorry that I dismissed the theory earlier in the week. The only places I had seen people mention it were far-right outlets. The gain-of-function research. We saw the back and forth between Fauci and Rand Paul. And then not provide aid to them. Exactly. A lot of our vaccines are actually manufactured in India. Grabby, you are exactly right. Now, as I mentioned, Trump is whining that he is not getting enough credit for the vaccine rollout. Because of course he is. Former President Trump, I just said that. Former President Trump on Friday complained that his administration hasn't been given enough credit on coronavirus vaccines, a day after vaccinated Americans were advised they can go outside without masks in most settings. Trump claimed in a statement that his administration, through Operation Warp Speed, came up with the vaccines years ahead of schedule, but said it was incredible that our names are not even mentioned in what everybody is calling the modern-day miracle of the vaccines. He's not getting enough credit for the 500,000+ dead. Possibly more than 1 million. It came out last week. We have far undercounted. The vaccines produced by Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna were approved by the Food and Drug Administration under the Trump administration, but the Biden administration picked up the distribution of the vaccine once President Biden took office. And it is very clear. All you have to do is look at the numbers. Vaccine distribution went through the roof once Biden came around. He just wants attention.